Tonight, celebrations in the Sunshine State. New Year's Eve revellers, resolutions and the new arrivals. But not everyone's night went to plan. A teen's head stomped on during a brawl on the Gold Coast. The drunk, uninvited guest who crashed into more than just the party at Corinda. A major backflip from a major supermarket. Woolworths brings back Australia Day merchandise. Does your tap water taste different? Claims it's making some Brisbane residents sick. And Tickled Pink, how Jane McGrath's legacy is being expanded to save more lives.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Sarah Greenhalgh.
Good evening. Southeast skies cleared as promised, just in time for Queensland to ring in 2025 in spectacular style. 80,000 firework effects dazzled at South Bank as many partied the night away. An explosion of colour lighting up South Bank. Dazzling Brisbane, no matter where you watched from. At Kangaroo Point, people packed the cliffs, filling up the Riverwalk and Howard Smith Wharves.
When they were spreading out like this, it looked like angel wings.
It was amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, there were a lot of red and green colours.
80,000 effects launched from 4 barges with 60,000 watching from South Bank alone.
It was the most amazing fireworks I've ever seen because I think this is the biggest fireworks I've ever been to on New Year's Eve.
Only to be outdone an hour earlier by Sydney in a mesmerising display on the harbour. Melbourne claiming to have the biggest show in the Southern Hemisphere. Little ones were struggling to last until midnight, many families enjoying earlier displays instead.
It's good that they do a 7:45 show because we're going to be in bed by midnight.
But there was no stopping the rest. Brisbane venues pumping as Queensland celebrated the night away.
Happy New Year!
Others welcoming in the new year with a new family member.
Born on 1st January 2025, so we really wanted to have the 2025 baby. So yes, he made it.
Not only was Nawab the firstborn in Metro South and in a new generation of his family, he's also among the first of Generation Beta who will live long enough to ring in the 22nd century.
We are planning to name him Nawab Singh Sidhu. So Nawab means prince in English.
After staying up late last night celebrating, today people were taking it easy, trying to get their resolutions off to a good start.
I was awake until midnight and had a really bad sleep. And then when I woke up, I was like, ugh.
Have you made any resolutions for this year?
Doing that later, actually. I'm going to sit down with a few sheets of paper, a few boards.
Many resolving just to have fun in 2025 and already setting off to do just that. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News. New Year celebrations turned violent on the southern Gold Coast, where 2 young men were badly hurt in a wild brawl. One teen had his head stomped on and was left bleeding on the street during a chaotic night in Coolangatta.
Fireworks on the streets too. A man with a child runs for safety as revellers lose their cool, teens run riot, and the sound of sirens rings in the new year. On one of the main streets, an 18-year-old lies bleeding on the road, his head stomped on, in a vicious brawl that left another 18-year-old bleeding with facial injuries. As he spoke with police, paramedics treated the other teen, describing his head injuries as potentially life-threatening. A promising sign, though, as he was able to move his arm. He was taken to hospital as police searched the streets, looking for a group of people not known to the victims who tonight remain on the run. In Surfers Paradise, all the fireworks were out to sea. The new year,
Oh, it was beautiful, mate. The fireworks were immaculate.
off to a better start.
Absolutely. They were lit. It was like a movie.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Thousands packed the beach for a glittering show. Very good. Police giving top marks too. They've praised the behaviour of crowds here last night. Of the thousands who celebrated in Surfers Paradise, 30 people were arrested on only minor offences. A clean start to 2025. Happy New Year! Amanda Abate, 7 News.
The rest of the world has now also said goodbye to 2024. This was the scene at one of the most famous streets in the world, the Champs-Élysées in Paris at midnight. We'll have plenty more incredible pictures from around the world a little later in the bulletin. But to some breaking news now. And 7 News can reveal a Virgin Australia aircrew has been confined to their hotel in Fiji. Chris Reason is working on the story. Rezo, at this stage, the details are pretty limited.
Sarah, at 7 News has been told that 3 members of a Virgin Air crew have been involved in an incident after arriving in Fiji, after landing at the Nadi airport. We know that those 3 crew members have now been separated and confined to their rooms in the airport hotel Tanoa until further notice. We've also been told that a senior management team from Virgin has now been dispatched to the island to investigate. Not only that, but family members of the crew have also been flown over. Now that is highly unusual. A spokesman for Virgin says that they will have confirmed that an incident has taken place. They won't give us details, only to say that our focus is on the welfare of the crew. Now, a replacement crew has since been sent to Fiji to fly that original plane back home. Sarah?
Chris Reason reporting there. Now to a developing story, and police have been left red-faced after one of their tasers went missing. Michael Hammond joins us from the newsroom. Michael, it was dropped by an officer?
Sarah, he was chasing car thieves in Cairns last night, jumping suburban fences when he broke the clip on his holster. The weapon has fallen out. He didn't realise until later on, reporting it missing within 2.5 hours of that incident occurring.
It's a broken piece of equipment and not the actions of the officer or any negligence from the officer. The taser is safe if it's not touched. However, we obviously have concerns if it falls into the wrong hands that it can be dangerous. It comes just 2 months after a police gun and ammunition were stolen from a car in Townsville. That weapon was later recovered and 4 men arrested. But tonight, Sarah, despite an extensive search, the taser is still missing.
Let's hope they find it soon. Thanks, Michael. A Corinda family had their New Year's celebrations interrupted when a car crashed into their home. The driver was allegedly drunk and disgruntled after having earlier been turned away from festivities.
It wasn't quite the New Year's Eve the Caton family had planned.
Started with a bang, it was dead on midnight.
When an acquaintance was turned away from celebrations, he found another way to make an entrance, turning gatecrasher, ploughing his car into the Corinda home.
He was asking to come up and he was pretty drunk, and Dad was just like, oh, we're about to go to bed, like we're just waiting for midnight. Not tonight, but we'll see you another night. And then probably, I was going to say 3/4 of an hour after that, massive bang. Everyone's running downstairs and he'd driven his car into our garage.
He went round the block, got some speed, and then just went straight up the curb.
A ruptured gas line adding to the panic.
I smelt the gas, so I went back and tried to get everyone out and barely could breathe. And then Dad had his finger on the gas pipe and taping up with gas, and just lights of sirens, next thing you know.
Witnesses say the driver tried to run before giving up. He was found sitting on the curb waiting for police. Assessors now need to decide whether the home is safe to live in. The family is now spending the first day of the new year figuring out how and when they'll be able to move back into their home and where they'll live in the meantime. Police are yet to lay any charges. Jordan Bissell, 7 News.
A woman has died while snorkelling on the Gold Coast. Police say she was unresponsive when she was pulled from the water off Wavebreak Island around 10 o'clock this morning. Paramedics attempted to treat her, but she couldn't be revived. Meanwhile, police have found a woman's body in a creek northwest of Brisbane. The 53-year-old was camping with a group of people at Emu Creek when she went missing while tubing yesterday. An extensive search began yesterday evening and continued this morning, which is when she was found. Cabinet documents from 2004 have been made public, revealing the extent of Australia's involvement in the failed search for weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Then Prime Minister John Howard stuck to the US alliance and the war, despite knowing the weapons didn't exist.
20 years ago, Shannon Noll was top of the charts.
What about me?
This bombshell admission topping the news agenda.
Certainly, the intelligence service believed that there were WMD. It turns out we were all wrong.
A war based on deception, the Bush administration conceding Iraq did not possess weapons of mass destruction.
Intelligence is always a bit hit and miss.
Arguments Australia had relied on.
We failed to find the stockpiles. We didn't fail to find the capacity to make them.
The National Archives today releasing 20-year-old cabinet documents revealing the Howard government's demonstrable commitment to the US alliance, an extra $644 million for the war effort in spite of growing unrest domestically. Fueled by revelations of prisoner abuse in Abu Ghraib jail.
How much did the Australian mood change towards Iraq in 2004?
It was always a divisive issue.
Another divisive scandal from that year would remain a secret for a decade. Australian agents spying on Timor-Leste's leader, accused of bugging officers to get the upper hand in oil and gas negotiations.
I think they would have always behaved in a way that promoted the Australian national interest.
Back home,
how are you, Mark?
John Howard shaking off Mark Latham to win a fourth straight election.
As the campaign started, Mr Howard described the election result as very much in the balance.
His decision to back Tasmanian loggers over green concerns pivotal. Unions turning on Labor. History repeating in 2025, a decision on salmon farming in the Apple Isle looming over the next election.
Let me put it this way. I'm following the salmon industry closely, and I can feel for the workers.
John Howard says he'll leave it to others to determine his legacy, but talking to the former Prime Minister, you get the sense that Australia's generous response to the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami is one of his proudest achievements from his time in the top office.
Very proud that we did help. We helped generously.
Australia gave more than $1 billion, the natural disaster killing 220,000 people, much of the devastation in Indonesia.
Our close neighbour and friend, it suffered terribly.
Josh Martin, 7 News.
A mother is pleading for answers after her 4-year-old daughter drowned in a neighbour's pool. The little girl had snuck through the boundary fence of their rental property. Her life support was turned off 11 days later.
4 years old and constantly twirling.
I love you, we're happy family.
She's so full of life. She was so full of life. She's so funny. And she's always laughing and dancing and twirling.
Ivy's life was taken in the time it takes to boil the kettle.
She should be safe in her own backyard for 4 minutes while I make a coffee, you know? 4 minutes.
On December 17, the little girl was found in the neighbour's pool by her mother. The only barrier to it was their adjoining fence. On Saturday, her life support was turned off.
She obviously could just move one of the fence palings to the side and snuck through.
The family says council has since installed temporary fencing, and today work started on a new permanent fence.
That pool, 2 weeks later, post-incident, still does not have a compliant fence around it.
The family want answers about who is responsible for both the safety compliance of the fence and the pool, the housing co-op that manages their rental, the neighbour or the council.
The fences have come up at 2 prior meetings.
Needs to be adhered to the regulation, otherwise...
Strict safety guidelines.
Yeah. A local real estate agent told 7 News that when the neighbouring house was sold last January, a pool compliance check had been completed and a certificate issued. The Latrobe Valley Council was today unable to confirm if that's the case. A GoFundMe has been set up to help the family say goodbye to 4-year-old Ivy.
I just want to give her the best, most magical day. I want to write her name in the sky.
Sarah Jane Bell, 7 News.
The pink test at the SCG has raised life-saving funds in the fight against breast cancer for 17 years. But in a major change for the McGrath Foundation, fundraising efforts at Friday's final cricketing showdown with India will now go towards all types of cancer support.
For Glenn McGrath, this is his most important SCG test.
In the first pink test, that it's for everyone diagnosed with cancer, and to me that is very special.
What the McGrath Foundation has achieved in 20 years is also special, raising tens of millions of dollars for breast cancer care, helping thousands of people like the Went family.
It's been life-changing. It's been rewarding. It's been scary.
So just after my wife got diagnosed, I was diagnosed in April with renal cancer.
Jade says the support of the breast cancer nurse saved her life, and that support will now be expanded for all.
170,000 people will be diagnosed with cancer in Australia this year. 1 in 2 of us will be diagnosed at some point in our lifetime. Those are terrifying statistics.
The pink tests alone have raised $22 million, all in honour of McGrath's late wife Jane.
The foundation is something we live every day, and I know Jane will be incredibly proud.
As players, we're really grateful to be a part of that. And offer any sort of assistance to the cause.
Buying a virtual pink seat is the best way to donate. In-person donations and merchandise are also available.
I think Australians are great, especially in time of need.
Also in focus ahead of Friday is batting prodigy Sam Constas. After a boxing debut to remember, the teenage sensation left his shirt at the hotel for the photo shoot.
He just brings a different energy that I think this team hasn't really seen for a little while.
In Friday's pink ball test at just 19, Sam Constas will become the youngest Aussie player ever to play at the SCG.
The teenage dream continues.
And Tom Wilson is at Kirribilli House. Tom, the teams have arrived.
They certainly have. It is one of the great traditions of the Aussie cricket summer. The two teams playing in the New Year's pink test get to meet the Prime Minister at Kirribilli House. Now, they're all there, the Aussie team, which is important for Mitch Starc because he is battling a rib injury. He's set to play on Friday. And youngster Sam Constas, what a special moment for him meeting the PM with his family, who are also invited here tonight. For the Indian team, well, they're on the back foot, down 2-1 in this series, and they need to win at the SCG to retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy. I think we're all looking forward to the match, and we're all wondering on the inside whether the villain Virat Kohli and Sam Constas maybe had a conversation after that shirt front at the MCG.
Thanks for that, Tom. Now for a look at the weather. Michelle, it was a pleasant start to the year.
It was pretty comfortable by summer standards. Skies stayed dry for most of the day with a few sun showers in Brisbane and isolated patches of rain developing this afternoon. Right now, though, a large band of rain is coming in from the northwest. Temperatures were about average, but it didn't feel as hot today with less moisture in the air. Tomorrow, a cooler change arrives in earnest. I'll have those details soon, Sarah.
Thanks, Michelle. See you soon. Jail for dodgy bosses who shortchange staff. The tough new laws coming into effect. Those details next. A police standoff 40 metres high. Why this protester took to the sky. Crews battle a bushfire at a popular Gold Coast beach. And later, what's causing Brisbane tap water to taste and smell very different. Fire crews have saved a group of New Year's partygoers from a fast-moving blaze on the Gold Coast. They were holding a rave at Doug Jennings Park on the Spit when the vegetation fire broke out around 4 a.m. No one was hurt, but smoke could be seen across the water as firefighters spent hours containing the flames. Bosses who deliberately underpay workers can be jailed from today. Tough new national laws carry lengthy prison terms and multi-million-dollar fines.
New year, new powers tackling wage theft after years of scandals at some of the country's biggest employers.
It's always been the case that if a worker steals from the till, that they get sent to jail or they face criminal penalties. And from today, if an employer steals from their worker, they face the same penalties.
Australian bosses now threatened with jail time and millions in personal fines if they deliberately underpay their staff. Companies can be fined nearly $8 million.
To know that there's actually going to be consequences for people, for employers who set out to do the wrong thing.
More than 1 million Australian workers experience wage theft. Fair Work believes up to $1.55 billion is stolen each year.
We know that retail and hospitality are some of the most prevalent places where wage theft occurs.
Adrian Toon was ripped off by the Commonwealth Bank.
It's incredibly shocking. These are the big organisations that we look to as the pillars of our community.
The laws did not receive bipartisan support, and today opposition leader Peter Dutton was slammed by the trade union. But the coalition says it proposed the reforms 5 years ago, only to be blocked by Anthony Albanese.
The laws also cover superannuation theft. Bethan Yeoman, 7 News.
Former Prime Minister Scott Morrison has marked the new year in America with some powerful people. He posted this photo on the social media platform X, posing with President-elect Donald Trump and their wives, Jenny and Melania. The caption, Happy New Year 2025 from Mar-a-Lago. A man protesting health services has been arrested after scaling a high-rise building in Melbourne this morning. The man dangled 40 metres in the air for 4 hours before crews got him down. He's taking aim at Monash Health, where his child was a patient almost a decade ago. The hospital says the case was thoroughly investigated, finding there was no misconduct. He's now being questioned by police. An Australia Day backflip, Woolies making a big haul on Aussie-themed merchandise. Top secret cabinet documents unsealed inside the deliberations of the Goss government. How 2 fishermen survived this, their epic tornado tale. And later, why your tap water may be tasting and smelling bad. Woolworths will be flying the Australian flag on our National Day, reversing last year's decision to pull merchandise from shelves. The company's patriotic pivot hopes to rebuild trust with customers who bosses say they've listened to.
The fresh food people looking for a fresh start. Woolworths singing a different tune in 2025, confirming we will be celebrating Australia Day as a team and with our customers.
I think it's a step in the right direction.
Just having a small amount will hopefully make everybody happy.
Reversing last year's decision to ditch Australia Day.
Deciding to dump its patriotic merchandise range.
The move, blamed on declining demand, sparked months of turmoil, parliamentary inquiries, a pricing probe and the eventual resignation of the boss.
I think I'm done, guys.
They're slow learners, Woolworths. They've got to realise that they don't set the moral compass of this country, the Australian people do.
They become a political football, which is unfortunate because it does mean I think companies are a little bit more wary about doing what I'd call the right thing socially.
In store, there'll be Australia Day sections featuring flags and food. Other merchandise will be sold online only.
More corporates in Australia need to take lead from them and back the views of mainstream Australians who overwhelmingly want to celebrate Australia Day.
After a costly union showdown and ongoing scrutiny over price gouging, Woolworths is under pressure to strike the right balance over a day that's so divisive.
They want this issue to go away.
Coles will continue to stock a range of summer merch. Aldi is opting out of selling Australia Day items altogether. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
Israel is threatening to open a new explosive front in its war with Iran's agents, vowing to take out the Houthis in Yemen. The US has launched fresh airstrikes on the rebel group as Israel calls for more international help.
Smoke rises over the skyline following multiple US airstrikes. Explosions ring out not in Lebanon or Gaza, but Sana'a in Yemen, home of the Houthi rebels, Iran's strongest remaining proxy after the fall of Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad, who've attacked dozens of military and cargo vessels in response to Israel's war in Gaza. But now it's the militia's command and control centres under US bombardment after coordinating recent attacks like this. Israeli investigators inspecting debris from a Yemeni missile bound for Ben Gurion Airport before it was intercepted. Sirens as far as Tel Aviv, warning of shrapnel falling from a second barrage.
The other operation targeted the power station south of occupied Jerusalem. The 2 missiles successfully hit their targets.
Grounds for war, says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, believing Israel's offensive against the Houthis is just getting started as he tries to bring Iran's axis of resistance to an end. In London, Ben Downey, 7 News.
For all the spectacular fireworks and light shows around the world, Puerto Rico has welcomed the new year in darkness. A catastrophic grid failure has left nearly all of the island without electricity. With crumbling infrastructure, energy outages have long plagued the Caribbean territory. It could take up to 48 hours before the power is restored. A pair of fishermen and a dog have stared death in the face, surviving a vicious tornado on a small boat. This stomach-churning encounter happened on a Texas reservoir, and moments after this video was filmed, the wicked winds caused the tinny to flip. Remarkably, they both held on to the vessel and say they survived by the grace of God. Top secret documents from the Goss government have been revealed after being locked away for 30 years. In 1994, the Premier was 12 months away from an election battering. The government grappled with drought, a controversial highway, and calls to end Aboriginal deaths in custody.
In 1994, The Lion King ruled the box office. Muriel was getting married.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Love song soared to the top of the charts. The white Bronco chase took over American TV screens.
Coverage of his live pursuit of O.J. Simpson.
In South Africa, Nelson Mandela seized victory.
I am your servant.
Back home, Paul Keating was Prime Minister. Wayne Goss was in his second term as Premier as drought gripped the state.
Budget the next day, something like that.
Also plaguing the government, large protests over plans for a controversial eastern tollway through koala habitat.
A government navigating the complexities of public scrutiny and unrest.
Sealed cabinet documents have been made public after 30 years of secrecy, highlighting long-running issues.
The youth crime rate and the juvenile justice system was at breaking point.
The Goss cabinet was also worried about a public inquiry after staff at the Basil Stafford Centre assaulted residents who had intellectual disabilities. Cabinet decided the then Attorney General should write to the Criminal Justice Commission.
In an attempt to limit the scope of those inquiries.
The government also faced increasing pressure to respond to Aboriginal deaths in custody, with one meeting considering 14 deaths, including 8 in police watchhouses. But despite the Royal Commission recommending the charge of public drunkenness be abolished,
Cabinet were concerned about looking soft, so they kicked the can along the road.
Weeks later, the Pinkenba 6 scandal. 6 police officers were accused of kidnapping 3 Aboriginal children aged 12, 13 and 14 from Fortitude Valley. The boys, who had not committed a crime, were dumped in bushland in Pinkenba and forced to walk home.
They told us to take our clothes off. We said no, and they said take our shoes off.
The officers were charged.
Police were acquitted, in my view, outrageously.
After a deep dive through the state archives. Marlena Wapp, 7 News.
Fireworks over the Champs-Elysees and that ball drop in Times Square. Next, how the world welcomed 2025, some spectacular pictures. A piece of Aussie rock history reduced to rubble, the sad end to an iconic home, the Danish King's special tribute to our Queen Mary, and later on tonight's Sunny Side we meet brave little Yui, who's had his wish come true on the Gold Coast. From the bustling streets of Paris to sprawling cities in the Middle East and Asia, revellers have sacrificed sleep for New Year's Eve celebrations. In every corner of the world, millions partied, all determined to start 2025 together in style.
No matter where you were at midnight or what language you were screaming in, joy on New Year's Eve is universal. In Paris, this was a midnight show worth staying up for, the most beautiful avenue in the world, living up to its name. As the Arc de Triomphe disappeared, engulfed by a sea of light. In London, the eye was barely visible, the River Thames taken over by 125,000 fireworks.
These New Year's Eve fireworks are the biggest in Europe.
In Damascus, Syrians celebrate their newfound freedom, the Assad dynasty ending just weeks ago. But they weren't the first to party. It was Auckland, then Asia. Taiwan's tallest building almost disappeared in this 5-minute spectacle.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Bangkok, the 9th most polluted city in the world, showered with eco-friendly fireworks.
The lights here, big concert down bottom. It's real cool to see.
As the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, went off like a rocket in the Middle East. Among the last to celebrate, the United States. Times Square's ball drop dating back to 1907. 1 million people watching a long-held tradition. Proving some things can last the test of time. In the United States, Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have marked the new year with well wishes on social media. William and Kate gave 2024 a big green tick and wished everyone a wonderful 2025. The royal couple also shared some memories of their own from last year, including when a delighted Prince George and Princess Charlotte met pop star Taylor Swift. Meanwhile, Denmark's King Frederik has paid tribute to his wife Queen Mary and their 4 children in his first New Year's Eve address as monarch. Mary became the first Australian queen of any European monarchy in January last year, following the surprise abdication of Frederik's mother, Queen Margrethe. The king said they could not have wished for a better start to their reign. Is your tap water tasting and smelling a bit unusual? If so, you're not alone. Next, why water in parts of southeast Queensland has changed and whether or not it's safe to drink. That story is just ahead on 7 News. But for now, let's head to the Gabba, where Steve, you've got tonight's sport.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah, and where the Heat need to bounce back. Hello, everyone. All the cricket is coming up. A stark warning for the tourists as Australia and India come face to face at Kirribilli House, and why Nick Kyrgios is praying for a miracle ahead of the Australian Open. Welcome back to the Gabba, where the Heat are currently on the attack against the Melbourne Stars. Sent into bad Brisbane with early setbacks, losing captain Colin Munro for 1 and fellow opener Tom Banton for 13.
Edged and straight to slip. Maxwell takes the catch.
Earlier in Hobart, the Hurricanes blew away the Sixers' 4-game winning streak. The Sixers fell 50 runs short of Tassie's target in a major upset, despite Jackson Bird's 4 for 16. Australia and India are face-to-face tonight as guests of the Prime Minister at Kirribilli House in Sydney. It's another pinch-me moment for 19-year-old Sam Constas as he prepares to become the youngest Aussie to play a test at the SCG on Friday.
The annual reception at Kirribilli House.
See you again.
One of many for the likes of Cummins and Smith.
Great knowledge. Thank you. 2 knobs. Yeah.
But it's all new to Sam Constas.
Good to see you, mate.
How you going? Thank you.
PM's 11, fine pick.
No sign of tensions between Australia and India ahead of the high-stakes series decider at the SCG, a game the Aussies say they're determined to win, despite needing only a draw to reclaim the Border Gavaskar trophy. Earlier, Constas got to meet Glenn McGrath. A true firebrand, one wonders how Pigeon would have reacted to being flayed to all parts of the G by a teen upstart on debut.
It's a different attitude these youngsters have, isn't it? They don't seem to have any fear. They go out and they play, and that's what I love.
Teammates are trying to temper expectations.
We'll wait and see how he plays out here. I don't think that's his blueprint every test match, but just the energy he brought, it was something different.
Mitch Starc had precautionary scans on his rib injury, but Carey, like Cummins, is convinced he'll play.
He'll be fine. One of the toughest cricketers I've played with, so he'll grimace, he'll grab his rib, no doubt, throughout times, but he'll be ready.
None of Australia's frontline bowlers trained today. If Starc is ruled out, Sean Abbott or Scorcher's speedster Jai Richardson
Knocked over by Richardson.
will step in. Selectors are likely to stick with the struggling Mitch Marsh.
Whenever we've put someone in the spotlight, the true Aussie ways to show them how good they are. So I think it's Mitch's time.
Nick Markham, 7 News.
To tennis now, and real concerns for Nick Kyrgios ahead of the Australian Open. In his comeback from wrist surgery at the Brisbane International, the 29-year-old continues to be plagued by pain.
Not exactly great news for Australian Open officials.
Almost need a miracle, and I need the stars to align for my wrist to hold up in a Grand Slam.
18 months on, one singles match in, playing through the pain.
We're taking it as it comes. If we can get through a match, we can get through a match. And how it pulls up tomorrow, I have no idea. I mean, it's throbbing like right now.
Playing doubles with his mate today, more discomfort.
But yesterday, that's what he got treated on, that elbow, perhaps compensating for that recovering wrist.
Maybe some relief in the Nick and Novak show, knocked out in 3 sets.
Nektic and Venus.
Last night, Djokovic was challenged in his singles opener against Aussie Rinky Hijikata. Before prevailing 6-3, 6-3 and waiting for new coach Andy Murray to arrive.
He's actually skiing at the moment. I hope he doesn't get injured, skiing before he comes to Melbourne.
And wild scenes today for a new home state hero, Gold Coast, Kim Birrell.
What a way to start a calendar year.
I think the biggest difference was that I had all of you guys on my side, so thank you so much.
The 113th ranked wildcard, outplaying second seed and US Open semi-finalist Emma Navarro.
I will definitely take a lot of confidence from today and just knowing that I can do it.
Kieran Tui, 7 News.
And now to basketball, and long live King James. A day after his birthday, LeBron became the first to play NBA as a teenager and a 40-year-old. $1.5 million a year on his biohacking regime. Well, it's money well spent. And James had America buzzing again after declaring he has a good 5 years left.
But they're going to get lucky.
Weird that I might say. How about another 5 to 7 years if I wanted to?
The Lakers lost to his first team, the Cavaliers, 122-110. And we finish tonight with earth-shattering news in chess. Players can now wear jeans. Just days after world number 1 Magnus Carlsen quit a major competition in protest of being told jeans were a no-go. The governing body has relaxed its dress code. The Norwegian cheekily turned up 3 minutes late to his comeback game.
Is this a new pair of jeans?
Yeah, it was a new one. I actually got them just for the game today, which is why I was one of the reasons why I was late.
Oh, jeans are only allowed if a matching jacket is worn. That is the splendour of chess, and that is tonight's sport here from the Gabba. Stick around. Seven's coverage of the New Year's Bash starts right after the news.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Steve. The historic home that gave rise to 2 of Australia's biggest bands has been demolished, and fans are angry, saying the $6 million house could have been made into a museum.
AC/DC. Decades of sold-out concerts, Australia's kings of world rock. But the house where classic rock was born has turned to rubble. Number 4 Burleigh Street, Burwood, demolished. Fans crushed.
Absolute half-wits, and that's being kind. Fools. You're kidding me.
AC/DC founders Angus and Malcolm Young lived at number 4, along with brother George.
She looks fine tonight.
George helped start the Easy Beats, Australia's first big international rock act. Burleigh Street often shut because of groupies, police not letting band members home.
You can't go in there, so I live in there. Said, no, you know, on your way, so you had to go around the back street, hop over the back fence to get into his own place.
Last year, Burwood Council paid tribute to the band with an AC/DC choir medley. And now there's a mural with Angus and Malcolm keeping watch over their old street.
And what a great way to keep that connection here with Burwood in Burleigh Street.
The council says it had no legal power to stop the demolition of the house, where countless air guitar classics and driving beats were born. Memories smashed by a jackhammer. Patrick Burns, 7 News.
Have you noticed an earthy taste to your tap water? If so, you're not alone. Next, the reason why and whether it's safe to drink.
And a cooler change is about to take the edge off summer. I'll have the forecast next.
Some in the southeast are fuming over changes to how their tap water tastes and smells, even claiming it's making them sick. Michael Hammond explains.
If you're in Brisbane, Ipswich or Logan and thinking there's something in the water lately, you'd be right. All that heavy rain and hot weather we've been copping has affected the raw supply to Mount Crosby Water Treatment Plant. It's brought out more of a naturally occurring organic compound known as MIB. That's changed the taste of the water and made it smell earthy or grassy directly from the tap. Some residents have complained it's making them sick, claiming vomiting, diarrhoea, stomach pain and skin irritation as a result. Others simply say it's unpleasant and disgusting. But SEQ Water has told 7 News there's nothing wrong with it, in a statement saying it remains safe to drink and use as normal, adding its supplies are regularly monitored and tested to meet stringent health requirements. It recommends chilling the water to improve taste and says we should start to notice the water returning to normal over coming days.
Let's hope so. Weather now, here's Michelle.
Thanks, Sarah. It was as if the sun was shining a little brighter for the new year today, even bursting through the rain. This picture was taken during a sun shower, but you'd hardly know it. For the most part, it was pleasant weather for the public holiday. Isolated showers trickled in. Tonight, though, a large band of rain is currently moving towards the southern end of the Sunshine Coast. On the satellite picture, a trough is drawing moisture well inland. This afternoon, large areas of thunderstorms developed. The yellow patches are the current warning zones for heavy rain and damaging winds. On the forecast chart, broad areas of rain are expected to develop along the coast tomorrow as an upper trough moves offshore of the southeast. If you're heading interstate, showers extend down to Sydney, and it's a cooler day for the eastern capitals, a top of 25 degrees in Canberra, 21 for Melbourne. Back to Queensland, the severe thunderstorms march north, starting in Townsville tonight. Tomorrow, there is the chance of heavy rain and damaging wind gusts between Port Douglas and the Mackay region. Over southern districts, it's another day on storm watch. Showers could bring some decent rain, around 25 or 30 millimetres between Rockhampton and Gympie. In the southeast, the winds shift around to the south and it's going to be cloudier and cooler. A shower or two, the chance of a storm on the Sunshine Coast, and the maximums drop back tomorrow by at least a couple of degrees. Zooming into the suburbs, it'll be 21 to 26 degrees in Sandgate and Manly, and showers are expected to clear by the evening. On Moreton Bay, southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots reaching 20 knots in the evening. And in Brisbane, a cooler top of 27 tomorrow with a shower or two. Looking ahead at the first week of the year, don't be too put off by these showers if you're on holidays. We are expecting plenty of dry breaks. In Ipswich, it's 19 to 30 degrees on the forecast for Friday and Saturday, and it shouldn't be too humid. On the Gold Coast, you could be dodging showers with a medium chance of rain for the next few days. And on the Sunshine Coast, tomorrow is the wet one with a storm expected, and it's looking More promising for beach weather by Sunday. Sarah, at least the weather played ball for New Year's Day.
We'll take what we can get. Thanks, Michelle. Now to tonight's sunny side. Meet little Yui, who had a very special New Year's. The brave 7-year-old was recently diagnosed with a rare and aggressive bone cancer. His make-a-wish was to stay at a luxury hotel and to visit some theme parks on the Gold Coast. Yui dominated on the Dodgems and tackled one of Dreamworld's biggest roller coasters. And if you have a good news story, please email it to us, sunnyside@7.com.au. And that is all from us this Wednesday. Thank you for your company. For now, from all of us, have a great night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.